1. NASCAR teams 2311 and front row fight for charters, legal battle explained. 2. NASCAR charters crisis, 2311 racing and front rows legal battle explained. 1. NASCAR teams 2311 and front row fight for charters, legal battle explained. In a bold move that could dramatically reshape the NASCAR racing landscape, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports are taking their fight against NASCAR to the courts. These two teams, embroiled in a high-stakes legal battle over the controversial charter system, have filed for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction, aiming to secure their status as chartered organizations through 2025. The charter system, akin to a franchise model in other sports, is at the heart of this contentious dispute. 2311, backed by basketball legend Michael Jordan and racing ace Denny Hamlin, and Front Row, owned by entrepreneur Bob Jenkins, rejected NASCAR's final extension proposal last September and instead opted for legal action. As the case progresses through the courts, the stakes are higher than ever. The teams are on the brink of losing their charters, which would force them to compete for spots in each race based on speed alone. This would not only mean smaller purses, but also the potential for having to refund money paid out through the first 20 races of the season. NASCAR, in response, accuses the teams of filing unnecessary motions and calls for a resolution, claiming to have received no concrete proposals from the teams. The situation is further complicated by the ongoing legal battle between Rick Ware Racing and Legacy Motor Club over charter rights. This controversy raises questions about the fairness and transparency of NASCAR's charter system, sparking debates among fans and industry insiders alike. But here's where it gets controversial. Some argue that NASCAR's actions could be seen as a power grab, threatening the very fabric of the sport. And this is the part most people miss. How might this legal battle reshape the future of NASCAR racing? Will it lead to a more equitable system, or will it further entrench the divide between established teams and newcomers? We want to hear your thoughts. Will NASCAR's actions ultimately strengthen or weaken the sport? Join the conversation in the comments. 2. NASCAR charters crisis, 2311 Racing and Front Row's legal battle explained. The battle over NASCAR charters has reached a boiling point, and 2311 Racing along with Front Row Motorsports, FIM, are on the brink of losing theirs, unless a court steps in to stop it. Heading into this weekend's race at Dover Motor Speedway, both teams face the unprecedented challenge of running 3 open cars each, a stark contrast to their usual chartered lineup. But here's where it gets controversial. Can they reclaim those charters, or is this the beginning of a permanent shift in their status? Both 2311 and Front Row are fighting hard to maintain their charter rights, but the situation is tangled in legal complexities. The core of the dispute revolves around whether these teams actually owned the charters at the start of the season, especially since neither signed the official agreement NASCAR required. While a preliminary injunction temporarily granted them charter status, that didn't necessarily confirm ownership. This legal gray area has left many wondering, do they truly have the rights they claim? Adding another layer to the confusion are the charters these teams purchased from Stewart-Haas Racing last year. NASCAR was forced by a preliminary injunction to approve those sales, but it's still unclear if those charters are fully theirs or if they are caught in the same legal limbo as the others. So, do 2311 and Front Row own the Stewart-Haas charters, but not the original 2 they held in 2024? The answer isn't straightforward. NASCAR insider Bob Pockrass broke down the situation on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast, describing it as a complicated scenario. He pointed out that since the teams didn't sign the agreement, some argue they might not have any charters at all. The big question, Pockrass said, is what happens with the charters they bought from Stewart-Haas. Right now, it looks like for the Dover race, both 2311 and Front Row will be running 3 open cars each. The fate of those Stewart-Haas charters will likely be decided later. So, what does this mean for the future? Will 2311 and Front Row manage to regain their charter status? The outlook suggests they would need to win their ongoing lawsuit or reach some form of settlement compelling NASCAR to restore their charters. However, given the strong stances on both sides, a settlement seems unlikely. The teams have already filed motions seeking a restraining order to block the U.S. Court of Appeals from overturning the preliminary injunctions that allowed them to compete as chartered teams so far this season. They also requested a preliminary injunction to maintain their charter status until the trial concludes. A court decision could come as soon as today or tomorrow, potentially reshaping the landscape of NASCAR team ownership. Meanwhile, NASCAR has accused 23XI and Front Row of serious misconduct, including falsifying evidence and possibly committing perjury. This legal battle is intensifying, and it's far from over. This situation raises some provocative questions. Should NASCAR have the power to revoke charters based on unsigned agreements? Is the legal wrangling overshadowing the sport itself? And what precedent could this set for other teams? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you side with the teams fighting to keep their charters? Or do you believe NASCAR is justified in its actions? Join the conversation and share your perspective below.